Hey, Mr. Weimer here from Mr. Weimer's History. This is Unit 3.2, the railroads. Hey, so we talked about last time the 5 factors in influencing industrialization. Do you remember them? We got the natural resources, immigration, laissez-faire, high tariffs, and now the railroads. You guys be able to analyze how the railroads changed the West and helped the U.S. become industrialized. Now, first things first, U.S. is huge, and the railroads help open it up. Right? And I love this quote here. Without the railroad, it would have been required a century to accomplish what has been done in 5 years. So basically, without the railroads, it took a long time to open the West up. People to settle the West. But in 5 years, boom, America's settled. Manifest destiny. And it all possible in 1869 with the first Transcontinental Railroad. Transcontinental means it transcends the continent. It goes from east to west. You can ride from California all the way east on this one railroad. Right, and there's a video here to watch Transcontinental Railroad. Alright, so when building Transcontinental Railroad, many people wanted in on this business because it was the big kahuna. This is the deal that's going to shape the future of America, and everybody wanted in on it. Well, 2 companies get this. We got the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific. Union Pacific is going to build from Omaha, Nebraska, and head west. And the Central Pacific is going to start from Sacramento and head east. And they're going to meet in the middle, meet some point, and hence the Transcontinental Railroad will be built by the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific. As you see here, is Transcontinental Railroad from Omaha, Nebraska. It goes all the way, that's when they meet, Promontory Point, Utah, all the way to Sacramento, California, and then the little line goes at the coast. But as you see here, the west is opened up. You can go all these railroads in the east, alright, connect to Omaha, and then boom, out west, the Transcontinental Railroad. Alright, Central Pacific, Union Pacific. So, both companies will be given money based on terrain. And the worse the terrain, the more money you got, because it's harder to build in it. So, of course, what are these people going to do? Yeah, the railroad's not just going to go straight on through the prairies. They're going to find the worst terrain possible and go up on around and get more money. Also, the more land they build the railroad on, the more money they get. So, the railroad kind of goes up and down and around, and they'll just go straight across because they wouldn't make as much money off that. These people are business people first, right? So the 2 lines race to get more money. So the more land they covered, the worse terrain, the more money they got. Central Pacific, Union Pacific. All right. So like I told you last time, the immigrants really helped out. You have your Irish immigrants going to help build the Union Pacific, and Chinese immigrants are going to work on the Central Pacific Railroad. So the immigrants help build the railroads. And the railroad towns, right, built along the way, they used to call the places that the workers stayed to build the railroads hell on wheels. Alright, because it was not a very good place. And so all these immigrants are going to be there, and African Americans help build the railroad too, but of course, yeah, you guessed it, they're discriminated against once again. So, May 10th, 1869, boom, they made it. Promontory Point, Utah, the way in the rails. And that's where they, boom, hit the golden spike, and America celebrated. Right? The United States of America. It brought everybody together. That we can achieve greatness. The manifest destiny is ours. The railroad, Transcontinental Railroad, Promontory Point, Utah, Union Pacific, Central Pacific, connect into one railroad. Alright, very famous photograph here. Promontory Point, Utah, Golden Spike, railroad success. Now, other railroads, since the Transcontinental Railroad was awesome and made a lot of money for people and really helped shape America, of course it's going to be copied, and of course it's going to um, more railroads going to pop up. So we have like the Northern Pacific, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe, the Southern Pacific, the Great Northern, which was built by James J. Hill. But this one was different because it's not funded by the government. He did it himself. He's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He built the Great Northern all by himself. Private investment. Private money. No government money involved. He did it himself. The Great Northern, private investment. This really shows that, the railroads really helped America, it just really shaped America. As simple as that. Now, one thing it did do, remember back last unit we talked about the buffalo and how the United States government wanted buffalo dead to force Native Americans onto reservations because buffalo's a life force. Well, the railroad is going to help that happen, and so the Union Pacific is going to cut the herds in half. The buffalo do not like to go across the railroads, and professional hunters were sent out. Basically, interesting story here. Railroads would just, here comes the train, jugging along. We're going to stop in the middle of the fields. These guys with guns, put them out the window. Here's buffalo herds. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they just shoot the buffalo from the train. Right? Once they're done, whoop, here comes the train, goes rolling all along. They leave them there. I mean, they just kill them for sport. Kill them for fun. And, not good. Alright, so killing a buffalo really was a negative effect of the railroad. Only a few hundred buffalo were left, and they went in deep to Canadian woods. And so Native Americans, as we all know, we were forced onto reservations, because their life source was gone. Buffalo was gone. Right? And the biggest thing, single greatest factor responsible for industrial growth is the railroads. The single greatest factor of all 5 factors. Alright, in that flow chart, the railroads are the greatest factor. They're the ones that united the nation. They're the ones that made it products can be sold nationally. Really made big business boom. Really made big business rise was the railroads. But one problem was gauges. Now, railroads, different gauges, some, 4 feet, and some were 8.5. And so you really couldn't go from one railroad line to the other because you'd have to stop because your train can't go on different gauge tracks. And so in order for this to become truly national, you're going to have to standardize the gauges, in which they did. And so eventually, once they standardized the gauges, the whole country bound into one market, one railroad, truly transcontinental. So the biggest shippers of products, right, America's best consumer, but there's a lot of railroads, and so we're going to consolidate them into smaller ones. In the Midwest, East, South, and we're going to consolidate railroads. The biggest railroad consolidator would be Cornelius Vanderbilt. He's the largest. You see, the rail merger, not very good. It creates one thing, and one thing only. Monopoly, which is not good. So, in the East, hundreds of lines, various gauges used, like we talked about. South was even worse. So, in order for it to be truly transcontinental, you have to, get the gauges set, which they eventually did. Right? So, we're going to consolidate railroads. Right? Get standard gauge. We're going to unite the country into one. Right? So, it's 7 giant systems. 7 railroads going to control. 7 companies are going to control the entire railroad system in the country. And here's different miles of tracks. You see 1870, 50,000 miles to 1890, about 160,000 miles of track. That's a lot of track being laid. And you see, you go to Transcontinental Railroad, and here's all the Great Northern, the Atlantic Pacific, Southern, Santa Fe, all these railroads, are being built. Really helping shape America. So The railroad builders, they were tough, ruthless, rough and tumble characters who were only out for themselves, and it's all about the money to them. And they were just ruthless businessmen who really, fit the term robber baron, if there was anybody, with these railroad people, such as Jay Gould, Huntington, Charles Francis Adams. These men were ruthless. And the government couldn't regulate them. They didn't care about individuals. They just cared about themselves. They just cared about getting rich. And by any means necessary, they're going to do it. Right? The big guy, Cornelius Vanderbilt, yes, college named after him, Vanderbilt University, and he's going to consolidate. He's the most famous railroad consolidator. Right? Built New York Central System, and he built the largest steamboat fleet, 1850s. Then he goes from steamboat to railroad. This guy is the railroad consolidator. This guy's going to make a lot of money on consolidating railroads. Right? And he goes all over the east, all the way to Chicago. Right? First used the Westinghouse air brake so he can, ship more goods at one time. 4-lane track, so you can, 2 cars can go one way, 2 cars the other way. I mean, he's really efficient, really consolidating railroads, really making railroads, great. And benefits of the railroads: standard gauge, universally accepted, had to be done in order to unite the nation on one railroad system. Time zones, standard time zones were created, so the railroad company changed time, and it basically made a mass market for all American goods. Businesses, entrepreneurs, alright, can now operate their businesses not just locally, but nationally. And to make rail service safer and reliable, like you mentioned, the time zones were created in 1883. And there's the time zones. More today associated with, television. Tonight at 9/8 Central. Alright, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central. It's 7 in Mountain, it's 6 in Pacific. Alright, that's how the time zones go. And they were changed because of the railroads. Right? The railroads created the time zones. We needed better scheduling. Trains would run into each other. Trains, started and ended all different times that they weren't supposed to start and end. And so here we are with the time zones. And America's clocks, ding, one time. And so that is how we got our time zones, thanks to the railroads. Alright, quick review of the railroads. Part of industry. First big business, Transcontinental Railroad, 1869, connected the country like never before. Union Pacific, built west from Omaha. Central Pacific, built east from Sacramento, using immigrants as the main source of labor. Goods and people can now be sent west easily. Made for a national market for goods. And railroads were consolidated, gauges standardized, and the railroads changed time. So there you have it. The railroads, part of industry. And so until next time, I'm Mr. Wiedemer, study history.